guys, everyone here back in the video, and today we're going to be doing a review on the Bandai 1955 Angurius figure. So when it comes to the pros of this figure, my favorite thing is the detail. Now when it comes to the detail on this figure, it is pretty cool. I mean, we have the really nice scales here that go throughout the entire body. They of course are kind of on the midsection and also go down the tail here. You see less of them on the head. The head is more of a smooth surface, but that's of course accurate to the original design. Details concerning the spine are really cool. And there are also some nice details where the spine's kind of just in random places all across the end of the tail. Some here on the bottom. It's just some really nice touches here. Facial detail is very cool. This was what, in my view, makes it the most reminiscent of the 1955 design. I really like the way it looks here with the horns being kind of like pushed over just a little bit here. They're kind of forward looking. And of course, really nice details with the teeth. The individual teeth here are really nice. It wasn't just like a smooth, dry over paint to just make it look like your teeth. It's really precise detail regarding the fangs and the teeth. Overall, let's get to the next thing I like about this figure. The next thing I like about this figure is articulation. Now this is a slightly above average. It's not just an average because at least Bandai did do a little bit more than just 4 joints for this figure. So this is rather one of the newer figures that they didn't just do 4 joints for. To get into the specifics, we have the arms that move here. They can also go 360, I might add. You have the back legs here, and you have the tail. So overall, the articulation, because it has 5 joints, not 4, is slightly above average. I do think there could have been some more areas where they could have made this figure articulate, but we're going to get into that in the cons. Let's get into the next thing I like about this figure. The next thing I like about this figure is the paint job, which is a solid average. The reason why it's a solid average is because, let's be honest, it's one primary color, and I get that they're trying to mimic the original design. But of course, that doesn't mean that I'm going to give it a high paint job because there's only one primary color. That primary color is gray. We see it all across the body, perhaps a little bit of a lighter gray here. Especially, there is some nice shading here with the horns in the back of his head. To blend in with the white. There's also red here, but I wouldn't say it's a booming color. It's more of a kind of a more swampy looking red color. So primarily most of the color is gray and there aren't any paint scuffs. So I'm not going to really give it any praise. I'm just going to say it's an average. It's the best that they could have done with what they had. Let's get into the cons of this figure. When it comes to the cons of this figure, there is one major con and one nitpick con. The nitpick con is what I mentioned earlier in the review, which is even though articulation was a pro, there still could have been more options for articulation. As you might expect, there is a glue seal on the head here. As you can see here, this is where it is. They could have had a neck joint here as well as a head joint here. That would have been 2. That's now 7 joints on top of what they already have. And they have a glue seal here in the mid-tail part. So that could have been an extra joint too. That would have been 8 joints of articulation. That would have been probably one of the greater pros in this review, given that Bandai's aren't known to have great articulation. But I'm just disappointed about these missed opportunities. Why did they have these glue seals? They could have made these figures more articulate and more cool to pose with, but of course, that's on them, so that's a con. So let's get into the size comparison to this figure. Now, it's very important to note that I don't usually do size comparisons with figure reviews, but in this case I feel the need to because this came along with the 55 Bandai Godzilla. Now, I reviewed this a few weeks ago, as you might remember, but I want to show these two figures in comparison, and this is where the larger con comes into play. So first of all, the Godzilla is a decent size, but the Angurius is way too big. I don't know if you guys can notice this, but when you match them together, look at just the head literally takes up not only the size of Godzilla's head, but also his whole neck. That's just Angurius' head. But of course, when you look at the width of his stomach compared to Godzilla's stomach, and I get this Godzilla's skinnier, but still, the size comparison is completely off in regards to this figure. This is of course more of a blame on the Angurius because the Godzilla is just like any other Godzilla Bandai I've ever seen. It has the same, general proportions. The blame of which one was incorrectly sized up to be was this guy. So way too big, not accurate with the 55 design, and that sucks because to anyone who wants to make a short battle or a fan film with these two guys, it just doesn't look normal. They're just way too big for each other. In that case, I'm going to be rating this figure a solid 8 out of 10. I would recommend getting this nonetheless because figures from raids, again, are just extremely rare. And also, it doesn't mean that the quality of this figure is bad or the 55 Godzilla. It's just there are some underlying issues that you guys should watch out for, and that's why you guys are watching this review. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe. See you guys later, and bye-bye.